Hello, hello, hello. Okay, so this time I gonna talking about it's not game this day because I see a few things I wanna talking about the especially for the PC right now because honestly I just upgrade a PC with the latest motherboard XX70 and using Ryzen 9000 series, and I starting feel like hardware PC these days feels something wrong in my opinion about the reviewing about the motherboard these days. So first of all, I gonna talking about specific about the AM5 motherboard because we see the with the launch X70, it's a quite little bit mix. There are some positive and there are some negative. So first of all, you see on the table right now, this table is the list of the chipset of the AM5, and you can see we're gonna focus on a comparison between X870 and X670. And as you can see, the difference between these two is the two biggest thing a lot of people say is the USB 4 and Wi-Fi 7 and the PCI lane, right? Yes, if you see the comparison between these two, it looks like same, but on the XX70, it's almost same. You can see this. It's same as B650E. So this is strike up downgrade, right? When you compare with X670, right? But here is the my problem. The my problem is when you comparing a motherboard, you should not comparing chipset to chipset because the next one I'm gonna tell you why you should not comparing chipset to chipset because I see there's a lot of tech tuber or talking about X70 is same like a B60 B50E. I mean, okay, yeah, makes sense. It's same thing, but with the Wi-Fi 7 with the USB 4. However, when you compare with the motherboard to motherboard, it's not just the PCI lane, it's not just USB 4, it's not just Wi-Fi 7. There's a few things is a more than that. I will like I will comparing between X670E Tomahawk and the X870 Tomahawk. Yes, it's both are Tomahawk, right? But it's different chipset. And if you see from the motherboard itself, it's a different, right? Let's see the comparison between these two motherboard by the visual, right? The Tomahawk X670E and X870. As you can see, the difference is the antenna. You can see the X670E is a just a normal antenna, and the other one is a different, is a way better because you can put the antenna on the top of the PC, which is way better. And the another one, the heatsink. The heatsink you can see on the X670 is missing one heatsink, and the X870 it has a one heatsink. And it's all M2 slot has a heatsink, right? And as you can see, the M2 heatsink, I think the M2 heatsink has a quite different because it's complete like a toolless design compared with the X670. Let me see this one. Oh, it's missing. The, let's see this one. It's nothing much mentioned. This one is kind of like a normal heatsink. Yeah, it's nothing much they explain. Yeah, at least they mention a clip, but the heatsink you still need a screwdriver to open this two. When you see this the X870, the first and the third one is is a toolless, except the second one, which is I don't know why they have a screw. And then the other one is the, you can see this one, it has an error code. And for for some people, I'm sure it's not gonna be a big deal, but sometimes I feel error code is really helpful. Sometimes even it's not 100% accurate or it's better than post LED, but at least they helping you to giving more specific than a debug LED. And the last one is this one is the additional uh, PCI power connector, which is for GPU. I think there's a one who explained this one. Let's see. Scroll down. Where is that? This one is a PCI supplemental power. This one is introduced from X870 and Z890, which is the chipset for Intel. So they're adding this one, and honestly, this one is a. It looks like, oh, it's a great feature, but unfortunately to me, this is not a really big deal for mid-range GPU. But if you're using a high-end GPU like 4080 or 4090, it's maybe it's quite worth because it's helped to reduce the power from the power cable to GPU. Yeah, you can see that there's some difference when you compare the motherboard to motherboard. But however, the X70 is doesn't mean it's completely better than the previous Tomahawk, like you see that, because remember, if you see the name, the the model name, right? You see on the previous Tomahawk it has a E when this one is doesn't have a E, which means it's a it's a downgrade because as you can see the comparison on a chipset, the X870 is same as the B650E except the USB 4 and Wi-Fi 7. So which means in this side is a slight downgrade. And this is why I think this is you should not compare chipset to chipset. You should compare motherboard to motherboard, like Tomahawk to Tomahawk, Aorus Elite to Aorus Elite, or Strix to Strix. That is way better. You compare like that than you comparing with the chipset to chipset. Yeah, I think so. One thing I'm missing this one, which is the one of the me is a really helpful, is the GPU. I think this one. Let me see. They where they at? Is a button. This one. So this is I think is a new for X870 and Z890. They introduced this new one. To me, yes, it's not like a. To me, it's like a luxury feature. But on the other side, this one is really helpful when you have like a air cooler, air which is the air cooler is really big and it's really frustrating when you having a dual tower cooler or big ass cooler. It's really frustrating when you want to plug out the GPU with the easy PCI release. It's really helpful. It's not just MSI. Mostly the X870 and Z890 mostly have this feature, but depend on which motherboard you see. There's some budget motherboard doesn't have, but mostly premium or already have this thing. So yeah, this is the difference. Why I say the motherboard to motherboard is way important than chipset to chipset. If you just compare chipset to chipset, then to be honest with you, it's not worth it. It's not worth it because chipset is a depend on your GPU and depend on your SSD. Example like this: if you have a B650, it's only PCIe 4, and M2 is only PCIe 4.0, and it's optional. I think it's only a premium, mostly premium motherboard for B650. But it's all depend on your on your on your configuration, on your build. If you have only one PCI SSD with only PCI 3 or PCI 4, and you have a mid-range GPU, you don't have to buy X870, you don't have to buy X670, and you don't have to compare with the newest chipset. And because you can see that B650 and B850, the only difference is B850 they now make it mandatory for M2 slot for M2 PCI 5. That's the only difference. But you can see the PCI lane is same. So if you compare chipset to chipset, of course it's useless. Especially when you're using a budget SSD or budget GPU, you don't need to care all these things. You don't need to care is a using PCI 5, you don't have to care PCI 4. If you budget user, you don't have to care about this one. Just buying B series, AMD and Intel B chipset, done. The only you can benefit from this one, the difference between B670 and B870, the only thing you can benefit is the specific reason, like you want to utilize like a USB 4 or and Wi-Fi 7. That's the only thing. But about the PCI lane is depend on the user itself. Are they using a lot of M2? Are they using only one? Are they using two? If you're using only one, so you upgrade from X670 to X870 is nothing. It's nothing impact. So yeah, this is the whole video. That's all I can say. So see you next video.